The fishing news is brought to you by Intelux Marine Paint and fanatics of Ocean City, celebrating 25 years at the Jersey Shore.
Well, it's full moon madness this Friday, but if you've been waiting for the first full moon of May, you're probably missing out on a heck of a lot of action this April. I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine, and of course, the big news is the bluefish have arrived all over the place. Now, last week we talked about those blues being out along the Delaware Bay shore and a smattering of them throughout the state of New Jersey. Well, that's all over because the bluefish have arrived in force here in New Jersey. Part of it started this past weekend, getting reports from Cape May County. Hands 2 Bait and Tackle in Cape May reported the bluefish were on the beach as of this weekend. Well, they've been on the beach in Cape May throughout the entire week. And along the coast, I'm trying to hook up with Greg Kudnick of Fisherman's headquarters. We had a meeting on Wednesday. He couldn't get out of the shop. It was so busy. He said it was insane. His exact words were, "Fishing is teeing off here." He goes on to say, "Bluefish came on hard, plenty of bass, and a good crack at weakfish." Just up the road from Greg's place, Surf City Bait and Tackle, they've had the bluefish all along the beaches of Long Beach Island. Tim Horner checked in with Sue and John over at Surf City with a 10-pound bluefish earlier this week. And then I get an email from Phil at the Tackle Box in Hazlitt, and he says alligator blues hit the Raritan Bay shore, and they hit them in force. Day, night, chunks, metals, poppers, they're all working. Ismail Estrado, Union Beach, checked in with a couple blues with Phil and the folks up there. So definitely on there. Now, that striper bite, let's go back down to the southwest portion of the state of New Jersey and along the west. We're getting reports still from STC in Gibbstown and also across the river at Brinkman's in Philadelphia that more of those stripers are up the river, like say up the upper bay and into the river. So the stripers are on the move. Folks are taking them by bank and by boat on the bunker chunks and as well as on the bloods. So if you're fishing on that end of the state, and it's always pretty quiet for those guys especially, fishing along the bay shore there, the Delaware, but good conditions and a good bite. It's better than watching Phillies games. Up on the Raritan, more of that bass action taking place. Now, last week was very hot. Gets through the weekend and things quieted down a bit. But it seems like these few days leading up to Friday's full moon, the bite has gotten on again. Joey Fingers chunked one up on the carnivore sport fishing with Captain Rick earlier this week. I want you to take note of those outfits that are there, not just the chunking, but make sure you keep other rods and reels set up, whether it's with the plugs, the pencils, or of course, those trolling outfits. So if you're not finding that chunk bite or that live lining bite, trolling with mojos or plugs or majas, the spoons, it'll always work. And hey, if you can't figure out if you're going to troll a maja or a mojo, take a look at this monster. It finally happened. The Maja Mo, that's right, 24 32-ounce spoon mojo monster that was created in tandem with the folks from S&S Bucktails and Tony Maja. You know what's going to happen. So now you guys don't have to figure out if you're going to bunker spoon or mojo. You could do a little bit of both. Speaking of monsters, we had our first monster on the Dreamboat leaderboard this week, a 15.42-pound blackfish. Now, this was caught by Jack Grunfeld. Jack is a New York subscriber, but this is a Jersey fish. He came down and fished earlier this week with Captain Bob Cope out of Cape May, full ahead sport fishing, weighed this fish in at Jim's Bait and Tackle in Cape May. So we have our first leader on our Dreamboat leaderboard. You subscribers, make sure you start fishing hot and heavy right now because you're fishing for that Cobia Center console at the end of the year. Don't forget, we've got a 4-fish bag limit on TOG throughout the rest of this month here in New Jersey. And we find out from many of the party boats, like the Carolyn Ann 3 out of Barnegat Light, that they're continuing to sail for those blackfish throughout the rest of this month. Gina tells us it's not just the blackfish, but they're also getting offshore, like so many of the other party boats that are now splashing or have been continuing to sail all winter. Up the Jamaica 2, the Paramount. These folks are also finding a pretty decent cod bite offshore. And I'm sure that we get those first few weeks of May before the fluke season opens up. I would imagine a lot of those party boats are going to continue to do that bottom fishing for cod and ling and maybe some pollock as well. Blackfish are inshore. This is the time of year when they come in close. Noel at One Stop Bait and Tackle is reporting some of those blackfish caught along the T-Jetty in Atlantic City. So you jetty jocks, now's your time before that limit disappears at the end of this month to get over to Cape May or Longport, the T-Jetty, Barnegat, Manasquan, Shark River. Get those TOG on the rocks while they're just getting in right now because you only have until the end of this month for those blackfish. Again, black drum, the bite is on in Great Bay and Little Lake. Only a matter of time before we start finding them in Delaware Bay. But we know along the front beaches that they're starting to get hooked on clam baits as well. Andy at Riptide Bait and Tackle checked in with us and he said he had his first drum weighed in earlier this week, a 10-pounder by Joe C., a beautiful little dinner-sized drum. And we're getting more of those reports up into Long Beach Island as well. So that full central to South Jersey stretch, those black drum have arrived. It's only a matter of time when those giant boomers start arriving on the Delaware Bay. We're looking forward to that. Now in the back, the weakfish bite, I'm sure is on, but nobody's talking about it. In the May edition of the Fisherman magazine, which I'll tell you about in just a second, we have a great weakfish article talking about that full moon in April, that April 22nd. Everybody's got it circled on their calendar. Well, the weakfish bite is on, and up until last week we had a smattering of reports. Well, I think things have gone silent, perhaps in part to old terror-eyes Dan Tolan himself from Lacey Marine reporting on weakfish ostensibly in that Oyster Creek area, but everybody's quiet. And if things are quiet, I got to worry that things are going on. And as we said, Greg Kudnick was talking about it as well. So if you're going to start targeting those tiderunner weakfish, now is the time to start doing them. Speaking of the Lacey Marine folks, this Saturday is an open house at Lacey Marine. You could take advantage of all kinds of special discounts on tackle, on boating supplies. If you haven't gotten your boat splashed yet, stop over to Lacey Marine from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. this Saturday. You'll get details, you subscribers, in your weekly copy of the Fisherman magazine. We've gotten that all written up for you. DNR Boat World, of course, they continue with their seminar series, and the next one, Tuesday, April 26th, at their 271 Route 22 Greenbrook, New Jersey location, is Artificials and Bucktails with the Fin Chasers TV crew. Captain Frank Crescitelli, I guess Captain Anthony Grassi, but they've got a special guest this Tuesday as well, Dante Soriente. So everything you want to know about fishing artificials and bucktails, this is your opportunity on Tuesday. Call for reservations. DNR Boats is 732-968-2600. Dial in to extension 605. This weekend marks the 1 month to go point until the summer flounder season opens here in New Jersey. I want you to circle that on your calendar for two different reasons. Not just that it's the opener, but it's also the first fluke tournament of the 2016 season. David Absecon Bay in Absecon has a tournament to help fund the Save the Summer Flounder Fishery Fund. A great tournament, a great opportunity to get out there on opening day. Plus, you RFA members, you'll be competing for a $1,000 cash prize donated from Yamaha Outboards to the RFA member catching the largest fluke of that tournament. You can get all the details. First of all, get your RFA membership updated at joinrfa.org, but get the tournament details over at www.abseconbay.com. Now, I said talking about next week's edition, the May edition comes out. It gets printed up on Monday. You subscribers will get it on Thursday. As soon as you get it, you'll realize that this is a different edition. This one is packed, probably the biggest Fisherman magazine you've seen in over 10 years, but it's our 50th anniversary celebration. Go over to Facebook. See us at Facebook. We're going to start sharing some of our fisherman stories, and I would love to hear some of your stories about growing up and all of us growing old with a Fisherman magazine, but make sure you look for that May edition. We're real happy about it, and I think you will be too. One last thought is this Friday is Earth Day. Earth Day celebration. Give yourself an opportunity to get out for a couple of hours and clean up some trash, even though it's not yours. Like, for example, on Friday, I'm going to be at Oyster Creek at noon. As I've been fishing there in the spring, I've noticed a lot of people leaving their trash behind. Well, at noon on Friday, Earth Day, I'm going to be out at Oyster Creek trying to pull out a few bags of trash. I would encourage you to think about doing the same thing. The more responsible fishermen can pick up after those swine that leave their trash behind, the better we're going to be able to improve our access for the future. So celebrate Earth Day this weekend by cleaning up a little bit of garbage. See us next week in the Fisherman magazine. You're going to love it. And again, see you every week here at thefisherman.com.
The Fishing News is brought to you by Intellux Marine Paint and Fanatics of Ocean City, celebrating 25 years at the Jersey Shore.